first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not paying for my daughter's wedding after she went no contact with me? I paid college tuition for all three of my kids, 27 female, 29 female, 32 male, because I have the money and I wanted to. My older two studied computer science while my youngest one decided to study fashion design. I wasn't really supportive about the fashion design degree at first and tried to warn my daughter that the job prospects for it wouldn't be that great, but she was insistent that that was what she wanted to study, so I paid approximately $60,000 for her to get her degree. However, afterwards, she struggled finding a job in her field, and once she did find, didn't pay well, so she came back to me and asked me to help her get another degree. I told her I could help her take out a loan, but I wasn't paying. It caused a lot of problems between us and she went no contact. She ended up going to community college part-time while working as a server with the help of her boyfriend. I helped my older two pay for their weddings, and my youngest daughter recently got engaged. She started talking to me and her mom again, and we were excited about the wedding. However, she started planning for things way out of her budget that her older sister/brother were able to have at their weddings. Her mom and I were worried that this wedding would not be good for her financially and decided to talk to her about it. My younger daughter told us she thought we would pay for most of it and was planning on having a high-end wedding close to what my older two had. My wife and I told her we were not going to drop $30,000 to pay for her wedding after she went years of no contact with us. Furthermore, my older two paid for most of their own weddings. We just pitched in about $5,000 for each of them. They both make good money, well into the six-figure range. My younger one got super angry with us and complained how it wasn't fair that her siblings got better things than she did and said we were playing favorites. Am I the a-hole for not paying for her wedding? Now for the top comments. Unfortunately, it sounds like she may have only tried to mend things so you'd foot the bill for her wedding. Not the a-hole. I was thinking the same thing while reading this. She only got back in contact with Opie just before wedding planning to make it seem like she wanted a relationship, but in reality, she wanted a wedding she couldn't afford and Opie can. It's also pretty baffling to me that she just assumed Opie was paying without even asking first. She thinks she's entitled to Opie's money. How does Opie know that she wouldn't go no contact again after the wedding? Or go no contact at any point in time when she asks Opie for money and Opie doesn't give it to her? Hopefully, if she ever has kids, she doesn't use them also as pawns to get money. If Opie doesn't stop her entitlement now, then who knows how far or how long this cycle will go on. Yeah, it looked pretty sketchy from what was said in the post, as it seems she got engaged, proceeded to get back in touch with Opie, and then ask them to pay for a wedding. Just doesn't quite sound right. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. You're being totally fair. Give her the $5,000 or whatever you spent on the other kids, and don't lose any sleep over it. If you do more than that, then you are not being fair to the older kids. Exactly. It's not favoritism if you've contributed an equal amount of all three. If she cuts contact again because of this, it's probably because she initiated contact solely for the purpose of funding her wedding anyway. Either way, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Sounds like she only initiated contact due to wanting money for wedding. I'd contribute the same $5,000 so that you continue to treat them equally. If the youngest can't deal with that, her problem. She sounds a bit self-entitled. Keep doing what you are doing, Dad. On to the next story. Am I the a-hole for walking out my hen party? Okay, so I'm 25 now. I got married last year, pre-COVID, and it was a perfect wedding. What wasn't so perfect was my hen party, bachelorette party. My small friend group planned it, and all I said was no strippers of any kind. It makes me personally uncomfortable, and I don't want them at my party. Fast forward to my hen party and everything's fine. We're at a club in my hometown and all of a sudden the music stops and someone starts talking through the speakers. I ignored it until they said my name, and I froze. I see this man walk towards me in a police costume, and I saw red. My friends booked a male stripper after I told them not to. He tried to handcuff me, but I pulled my hands away, but he continued doing his thing, taking his clothes off. I was furious. I walked out. I felt betrayed by my own friends. They did the one thing I asked them not to. I booked a taxi home and didn't speak to any of them for a while. They were spamming my phone with messages saying that I was being ungrateful and should have just enjoyed it, but I couldn't. It made me feel sick to my stomach. I get that maybe I should have just left calmly, but I was so angry and upset that I couldn't. I stormed out. My exit was a bit dramatic. But am I the a-hole for walking out? I only ask now as a Facebook memory came up for my hen party a few weeks ago. Now let's read the top comments. Not the a-hole. You had a hard no on the stripper. That there was one there, anyway, means it was a party for you, in name only. Also, they paid someone to actually harass OP. It's not just a party thing. It's not like they put up a piñata after OP said they don't care for piñatas, or buying a cake even if OP isn't super into cake. Not the a-hole. They did the one thing you asked them not to do. Walking away was reasonable, especially since it doesn't sound like the performer realized you weren't into it at all. Right? It's not that hard to honor your friends' wishes for no strippers at their hen party. I have plenty couple for friends, and if they set hard limits on things they did or did not want, I made it happen. The party is to honor the bride, not to make her uncomfortable. OP, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Need to digress to tell this completely unrelated story. So I go visit, just me and my boyfriend, an aunt and an uncle in Chicago when I'm around 17 so I can see a concert and hang out with my aunt and uncle. At some point in the night, they're reminiscing about funny times with my mom and dad. They start talking about this time everybody got my mom a stripper for her 30th birthday. Suddenly, they realize they actually have this all on film on a VHS tape. They dig it out. So my mom is this really headstrong woman. And when she realizes the stripper's here for her, she's totally embarrassed and obviously beside herself. The stripper forces my mom's hands around his waist and handcuffs her hands and tells her she's going to have to work her way down so he can step out and she can get free. My mom is clearly out of her mind distressed. This goes on for like 5 minutes or so, my poor mom begging to be released and just shaking her head. But suddenly, you see her face completely change. It's like when the Grinch gets an idea. She suddenly gets all calm and gets this little smirk on her face. He starts pushing her down, and when she gets to her knees, she wiggles around so she's not facing front, and she bites him. She bit his butt. The stripper audibly screams and repeatedly shouts, "She bit my butt! She bit my butt!" I promise this was no love bite. I only watched it in slow-mo like 25 times, so I feel like I know. She viciously mauls this guy's behind, like goes at it like a freaking cobra bite. No immediate release either, like a pit bull, locked jaw that one. Stripper starts panicking and freaking out, and literally leaps out of my mom's arms. Needless to say, end of dance. Now let's read the next story. Am I the a-hole for respecting my 13-year-old daughter? So, I've never used Reddit before, but my oldest daughter, who thinks I'm an a-hole, wanted me to post this. I have 4 kids and these are fake names. Rose is 29, Ben is 27, Kate is 25, and then our lovely but very much a surprised daughter, Abby, is 13. My wife wasn't a great mother, I'll be honest. She was extremely immature and I shouldn't have pressured her to have kids. She had a strained relationship, especially with Rose and Ben, but she changed around the time we had Abby. She was certainly not the worst mother, but she was incredibly awkward when they were kids, and then they clashed as teenagers. Rose is not objective though, because she has always been jealous of her mother because people compare their looks a lot when she was growing up, and she had a boyfriend who would salivate over my wife. Ben is getting married, and I'm so happy for him. They really are perfect. My wife and future daughter-in-law do not get along at all, and my wife can be catty. My wife is not invited to the wedding, which I told her was her own doing, and she better not whine about it or think she's going to stop me from going. She really doesn't care and wouldn't want to go. The relationship with Ben is worse than the other kids. Ben still wants me and all of his siblings there, but Abby is refusing to go. She said that she isn't going to play happy family while her mom is being excluded. Abby is pissed at me for going, but I told her that isn't her decision. But I absolutely respect her decision not to go. Ben is upset because he wanted the whole family and says I should force her. I said she is too old to be forced, but he said what if she declared she wasn't going to school anymore? I mean, he does have a point. Abby is still a kid, but I don't think it is right to make her go. And I think Ben has to understand the consequences because he is free to not invite his mom, but other people are free to have an opinion. Rose is the one who wanted me to post because she also thinks Abby should be forced to go. Now for the comments. Everyone sucks here, except Abby. If your daughter chooses not to go because she doesn't like her mother being excluded, that's her choice. She has no obligation to play happy family. The fact that two of her siblings want to force her to go says a lot about why she doesn't want to. You're the a-hole for pressuring your wife for kids she wasn't ready for yet, and then be shocked at her less than stellar parenting skills. Your older children come off as petty as all hell. You're the a-hole. A person doesn't just cut a parent out for being catty. Something big had to have transpired in order for them to not invite your wife. I feel like there's more to this story. If it is that bad where you have taken his side, then yes, I would force the child to go. I would also have Ben and Abby sit down and talk before the wedding. I disagree. She is catty towards the bride. They haven't cut her out, and Rose and Kate are actually working on their relationships with her, but I wouldn't invite someone to my wedding if my wife expressed that they made her uncomfortable. Not the a-hole. Ben can't say he wants the whole family there while not inviting his mom. However, I think it's only fair to explain to Abby if she doesn't know why the mom isn't invited, and why it's important to Ben that Abby will be there. If she understands all of this and still doesn't want to go, it's her decision, and you should let her make this choice and explain to the other siblings that she made her choice, and that you can't force her to go, because if you do, she won't enjoy it, and make the experience worse for you and everyone else. Side note, try to make titles more objective. I understand you want people to be on your side, but you should really show the reason you might be an a-hole. I would use a title like, Am I the a-hole for letting my daughter choose not to go to her brother's wedding? Now, for the last story, Am I the a-hole for telling my husband to just deal with my mom? My husband and I just had our first child 8 weeks ago, a beautiful baby girl. After she was born, I asked my mom to come stay with us for a couple weeks to help with everything because I had a quite traumatic birth, and we are new parents. After those couple of weeks, I realized how nice it was to have an extra person to help with daily household stuff or to give one of us a break if the baby wakes up during the night. So I asked my mom to stay longer. I did this without talking to my husband about it, and pretty much just told him about it after I already asked my mom to stay. He was kind of mad about it, but I told him I was still recovering and he's just going to need to deal with my mom being here longer. I have 12 weeks of maternity leave, but my husband only had 6, so he recently went back to work. When he comes home, he will take over the baby duties, and he's great at giving her baths and getting her to sleep. It warms my heart to see how good he is with our baby girl. The problem, though, is that he shows me almost zero affection or attention. When I was pregnant, he would give me daily foot rubs and tell me how beautiful I am and how much he loves me. Now, I can barely get a good morning or good night out of him. His excuse is that he's tired from work and pretty much being on solo baby duty after he gets home. He told that he has a finite amount of energy and can't pamper me the same way anymore. The other night after the baby went to sleep, I asked him to give me a foot rub like he used to. He said he was exhausted and just wanted an hour to himself before he goes to sleep. He said I should ask my mom for a foot rub, but I said that's not the same. He told me he never gets a break between work and a baby, so I'm just going to have to deal with being lower on his priority list right now. I feel like that was a low blow to use my own words against me like that, but it got me wondering if I was an a-hole for making that decision unilaterally before. Am I the a-hole here? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole for asking your mother to move in without consulting your husband first. It is his house too. Also, your mother helps you with the baby, and you don't work? But your husband works, then comes home to take care of the baby with no help at all? Then you ask him to rub your feet. As if he hasn't had a hard day with working and taking care of the baby with no help. Edit to add, before anyone says anything about the fact that she just gave birth, I gave birth in May and did perfectly fine with no help. Yes, it is very tiring being a mother, but that is what comes with the territory. Typically, I'm 100% team mom. But wow, this lady is an a-hole. I agree that it doesn't sound like she shares any of the baby duties when her husband gets home. Childcare is absolutely a job. It should be treated equally to her husband's out-of-the-home job, which means both of them work all day, and then share the night shift. Of course he's exhausted. And she just moved her mother in without talking to him? That's grounds for the "here's 2 business cards. One is a counselor, and the other one is a divorce lawyer. Take your pick. Move Reddit loves." What an a-hole. I'm flabbergasted at the level of a-holery here. You're the a-hole, sorry. First, making a decision that should have been made as a couple and doing it just by yourself. But info. You say your husband gave you daily foot rubs while you were pregnant and basically take care of your child solo once he gets home from work. When is the last time you gave him a foot rub or catered to him? To me, it sounds like he went from catering to you, now catering to the baby. Now you want him to do both, but who's making sure he's a top priority? Yeah, I recognize OP has healing to do, but it sounds like her husband could use some care just as much with his working as well. I am glad someone else noticed that. Your poor husband. Works all day to provide for the family, including your mom's living costs. And when he gets home, you and your mom clock off and leave him to do everything? And then you complain he is tired. You're the a-hole for days. That's what I got from this post too. When he gets home, it should be equal parenting. Not 2 people taking off and the husband doing everything. If Opie's mother moved in to help with the baby, isn't that the most opportune time for her to step in? You know, when both parents are burnt out. Then maybe that would help the parents spend a little time together to try to get their bond back. I know childbirth is tough. I'm due in March. But Opie seems to be neglecting that the father is affected by all of this as well. You're the a-hole. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you with the next one. Stay safe.
My girlfriend, female 21, rejected my male 21 proposal because it didn't meet her expectations. Plus updates. Original post. For context, my girlfriend and I have been together for 6 years, and over Thanksgiving weekend, I took her on a week-long trip to Hawaii with the intention of proposing to her. I even asked her parents for their blessing and showed them the ring a couple of days before we left for the trip. We've talked about marriage before and agreed to want to marry each other, so the idea of it isn't new and is actually a frequent topic. The issue is that she wanted a grand wedding proposal, similar to the ones you might see on TikTok or Instagram. Big "marry me" letters on the beach, rose petals on the ground, lights, mariachi, etc. I was absolutely on board with doing that for her if it made her happy, but that was something to plan at a beach back home, since I didn't have the resources to organize it during a trip to a place we've never been before. Especially because we booked everything as a last-minute vacation just 5 days prior. Ironically, after she sent me videos of people vacationing in Hawaii. I thought this would be a great opportunity though. I planned to propose on the day we arrived. I carried a ring in my pocket all day, waiting for a good opportunity to ask her, knowing it wouldn't be the grand proposal she'd hoped for, but I thought given the circumstances, she'd still be happy. However, we had some completely unnecessary arguments, and I decided to postpone it because I didn't want to propose after a bitter day. On the second day, we booked a reservation to go parasailing. I didn't want to risk losing the ring, so I left it back at the hotel. We didn't get back to the hotel until around 5 p.m., and we started getting ready to go back out into the city. By this time, it was already starting to get dark. She said before that she'd want a sunset proposal, and knowing I couldn't organize all the other things she had in mind, the sunset was the only element I could focus on. I missed my chance on that, but we still went out to dinner and drinks. We came back to the hotel afterward because she was tired. I was too. It was an eventful day. I let her rest for a bit, and around 10:30 p.m., I convinced her to go on a night walk with me at the beach. This was when I planned to propose. We go to the beach. The city was still very much awake, and the lights of the buildings and streets, combined with a bright moon, illuminated the ocean beautifully. We stood there hugging and kissing, both knowing it was a beautiful and intimate moment. I started telling her how much I love her and how I want to be with her my entire life, etc. As I started to get on one knee and reach into my pocket for the ring, she stopped me. "I hope you're not about to propose to me right now. This isn't what I expected." My heart dropped. I got back up and stood speechless before starting to walk back to the hotel. I was in no mood to talk about the situation and told her we should discuss it tomorrow. We talked about it the next day and she insisted I do it again, but this time the right way during sunset. I told her I couldn't do that because she had already rejected me. She told me she didn't reject it, just that it wasn't how she wanted it to happen. We spent the next 4 days in Hawaii in a very tense state, but we had to deal with it until we got back home. We lived together, and for the first night, she stayed at her parents' house. She's back now, but I don't want to be at home with her there. What can be the outcome of this situation? I obviously didn't want this to happen during our vacation, but I can't see it any other way. Is this a valid reason for me not to want to be with her anymore? I also don't think it's right for me to redo the proposal. Now for the top comments before reading the updates. There's a chance you don't get past this, but my first thought is that it foreshadows a very demanding partner. Does she have other unrealistic expectations about money, cars, vacations, clothes, etc.? Those can be real detriments to living as partners together. You're 21. Yes, some marriages work that early, but most don't. Your brain hasn't even fully developed, generally by age 25. Marriages aren't about grand gestures. They're about shared values, having each other's backs, and being ready to be there through thick and thin. The right partner won't care about the perfect moment, what time of day or night, or whether they're on a beach or anywhere else. She sounds superficial AF. Move on and find someone who is deeper than a puddle. She's ungrateful, plain and simple. Being in Hawaii wasn't enough for her. She said she wanted grand, but no one around. She wants it at sunset on the beach? Everyone and their grandmother would be there. She seems like someone who always wants more. Please reconsider marrying her. This is a glimpse into your future. You want to marry a high-maintenance princess? Your proposal was beautiful. Your proposal was beautiful. And even as a lady, your +1 sounds so high maintenance. I see it all about her, but what's there about you? A marriage is not just about her. Maybe you are not enough for her right now. What if after bitterly accepting your subpar proposal now, she finds someone else who is within her expectations in the future? Will she then regret it? What if other things did not meet her expectations? Life is not a bed of roses. It sounds like she will never be happy enough in a life with you. Red flag, red flag. Think hard about what kind of marriage life you want, man. If the proposal isn't appropriately timed and grandiose, then what about the wedding and marriage? Not every moment has to be Instagram social media obtusely outrageous for likes and clicks. Moments can be private and just filled with love, respect, and emotion. I think you may need to reevaluate, as it sounds like she has different expectations. A different expectation for a proposal can be a window into your future. Yeah, that was the argument the previous night was about. It was our first dinner there, and she was glued to her phone taking pictures, posting, messaging her friends, etc. I told her about it and to put the phone down, and she retaliated, saying as a girl, that's how she is, and I should accept that. I felt like I was eating alone. I may be wrong here, but you realize the wedding planning is gonna be crazy, right? She's going to go full bridezilla and want the perfect social media wedding. Crazy thing is, she says she doesn't want anything too big. Now for the first update. So we had another conversation about it once she came back home from her parents. She's still adamant that I failed to meet her expectations. Admittedly, I understand that I didn't do any of the things she had visualized. I want to emphasize that we're young, and the proposals she's seen on social media are nothing but trends. These proposals have only become popular in the last year or two. Before that, she told me she wanted an intimate proposal, especially away from the public. People are telling me I'm wrong because I knew exactly what she wanted and didn't do it. She also tells me that a proposal is solely about the woman and what she wants. I think that's BS. I know I told her that I was on board with her fantasy proposal, yet I changed my mind about it. I didn't want to plan this huge thing at our hometown beach just for the spectacle of it. I preferred to do it in a way I knew we'd both enjoy. In Hawaii especially. Something that really bugs me is that she says I made the trip seem like just another trip. Nothing crazy or out of the ordinary. This was literally our first vacation flight together. The same day this happened, we had brunch, went parasailing, and had a wonderful teppanyaki dinner. Am I selfish for changing the whole proposal without consulting her? I don't understand why some people say I'm selfish for not doing what she wanted. I still did something that objectively should make any woman ecstatic. My focus now is shifting from wondering if it's okay for me to break up with her for turning me down to wanting to break up with her for her ungratefulness in general. Another reason why she said it wasn't up to her expectations was because we were both dressed casually. She wanted me to give her prior notice that something special was going to happen by telling her to get glammed up. Note: to the people asking why I couldn't propose the next day at sunset, another requirement for her proposal was for her dog to be there, which she told me that same minute after saying it wasn't what she expected. She absolutely adores this dog and has always told me she wants him to be the ring bearer at our wedding. Sure thing, if it makes her happy. I really don't mind. The issue is, she also wanted a dog to be there for the proposal, which I was absolutely unaware of, and obviously wouldn't take the dog with us. She was just too focused on how she wanted the proposal rather than being excited about being with me. Second update. We had a breakup talk. My girlfriend has always been a bit self-centered. I've known that and have been able to put up with it. About 4 months ago, she started having therapy sessions. I don't know how long they last, what days they are, or what they talk about. I do know that she has become an entirely different person. She's been more compassionate and cooperative with me, the things I've always wished for her to be more of. This caused me to be fully ready to commit to a life with her, hoping this new mentality was permanent. Anyway, she talked to her therapist and told me that she asked her one question. Do you like surprises? She tells her of course she does. She explains to her that, as her boyfriend, I most likely knew that and was trying to do something heartfelt and unscripted. No mariachi, glamorous dress, or big letters, just us two. Her therapist further told her that if she truly felt in her heart that she wanted to live a life with me, all the superficial stuff shouldn't matter. She apologized to me, telling me she really regrets how she acted and assuring me she would have said yes anyway. My biggest regret is I'll never really know what she would have said. Though in my gut, I'm not 100% sure she would have said yes. Her first thoughts during that moment were completely dismissive of me and disrespectful, something that, for once, I feel like I can't take anymore. I'm standing my ground, telling her I've swallowed my pride way too many times in the past and we should go through with a breakup. I'll be sleeping on a couch. She'll be packing her things tomorrow and going to live with her parents. Proposals shouldn't have drama and be the perfect moment of one's life, but sometimes it isn't the case. Young love is definitely something, huh? I proposed while eating dinner at the table on an idle Tuesday, and I originally asked her out straight after she brought me a pie, which I immediately vomited up, turned to her, and asked, "Wanna go out?" at a gas station when she was giving me a ride home after I was drunk at a work bash. That was 20 years ago. This wonderful woman said yes both times. I absolutely don't deserve her. My husband dropped the ring in my wine glass, thinking I would see it. But it had been a rough day at work, so I slammed it, choked on my ring, and had to throw it back up. Dignity and grace I am not. Good times. My brother put our mom's ring in a handmade box our cousin gave him. The box had a special magnetic lock, except he lost the magnet that opened the box and couldn't get hold of a replacement, so he had to first be like, "There's a ring in this box. I'll give it to you once I figure out how to open it again. Will you marry me?" Luckily, he and sister-in-law's dad were able to undo the hinges to open the box. I don't know what he'd have done if that hadn't worked. I am 100% telling his daughter that story among others, once she's older. My boyfriend planned to propose on a trip to Budapest. That evening before our departure, he started panicking, wondering, what if I'm asked to open my suitcase before boarding? What if she sees the ring before I ask? What if... He panicked and decided to ask me on the spot instead. Back then, I was struggling with an abusive manager at work. I had had a terrible day and was stressed eating old Doritos leftovers while sitting on a sofa. I was filthy, sweaty, and covered in crumbs. My hair was dirty and up in a messy bun. Not the cute Pinterest messy bun, but more like a psycho under a bridge with matted hair bun. When I saw my boyfriend kneeling next to our second-hand sofa in our teeny tiny apartment, I couldn't believe it. He wants to marry me? Even when I look like this? My brain collapsed, and I admit the first thing I managed to say was, "Oh no, I want to kiss you, but it's going to taste like old Doritos," or something along those lines. He laughed and said it didn't matter, and we kissed while crying. That was 8 years ago. We are still happily married and have 2 wonderful kids. He is still my best friend and still makes fun of me because I didn't see the proposal coming, even after he played a Lord of the Rings soundtrack to cue me in on the imminent ring coming. I love him to pieces. Wanting to marry somebody who looks their best while on the most romantic spot is easy. Find somebody who sees you at your worst and still can't wait to marry you. Last story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend of 6 months 2 days before her birthday? I, 27 male, broke up with my girlfriend, 25 female of 6 months, who kept calling me an idiot, retard, etc. She first started doing it a couple of months ago, and I told her respectfully that it bothered me. I explained that I had dealt with this in a prior relationship and did not take it lightly, even if it's meant as a joke. She said okay, but gave off a reaction that made it clear she still thought I was overreacting. After that, she would slip up and accidentally say it, then follow up with something like, "Oh, I'm sorry you don't like that," and try to move on as though it was nothing. I ignored it until a few weeks ago when I got fed up and still respectfully told her that if she persisted, I would ignore things she had told me were important to her. She was offended by what she called a threat, and we had our first fight. We both apologized and agreed to do better. That evening, she slipped up again and called me a pea-brain. I ignored it, but went to bed feeling angry and sad. The next morning, she slipped up again and said retard. I'm not a physical person, nor do I shout or yell, but I need time to myself when I'm mad, so I left her and went to the living room. She started weeping profusely and accused me of emotional manipulation. At that point, we had our second fight, and I told her she was at fault. We kind of made up, but I wasn't feeling 100%. So I told her the next day that this was a deal breaker for me if it happened again. She agreed, and I thought the issue was resolved. Yesterday, she called me an idiot over nothing. I just left and took some time for myself. She sent me messages saying I was punishing her with my silence and that I was overreacting for not wanting to hear her apology and accept that this is hard for her to control. Today, I broke up with her and felt super crappy about it since her birthday is just a few days away. Her rant during the breakup was so insulting and infuriating. She called me overtly sensitive, manipulative for not wanting her apology, and said that her patience and acceptance of my erectile dysfunction problems of late should be met with the same patience and support for her struggling not to call me an idiot or retard. She even said my ego is too big to accept any mistakes. I told her that, evidently, we have massively differing views on this, and breaking up appears to be the best course of action in the end. So Reddit, am I the a-hole here? Edit 1. Just to answer what a lot of you have asked, no, she does not have Tourette's, but most likely some kind of defiance syndrome. 2. The ED started before her, but her behavior and being controlling in bed did not help. 3. To all the dudes in the comments telling guys like myself to just be a man, stop. Just stop what you're doing and move on. This thread isn't for you, but hopefully for someone who's dealing with the same stuff I did and or worse. Instead of belittling people like my ex did, do some good karma and make someone else feel empowered enough to end their suffering and get help. Or if you can't do that, then make some karma by not saying or doing anything. Now for the comments. Nope, douche canoe deserved to be set free. Maybe she can learn how to treat people better. I doubt she'll get it though. Not the a-hole. Good luck to you. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully she learns, but I doubt that. From the looks of our last convo, she's determined that this is just me throwing a hissy fit over a minor accident. You're not the a-hole. Setting boundaries is essential in any relationship, and it sounds like you communicated your feelings clearly. It's unfortunate that she didn't respect your request and continued to belittle you. Ending the relationship was a tough but necessary decision for your well-being. Thank you. Honestly, I hate being the one who makes someone else feel bad. And it was so unfortunate that this had to happen 2 days before her birthday. But judging from her reaction during the breakup today, I'm glad I did it. Hell no, not the a-hole by any stretch. She wants a retard, let her find one.